Oh, hi guys and girls, Emma again. Welcome back to the spare room. Got a bit of a project on today. As you can see, I've got LORCH lathe parts here. This is the cross slide assembly. So you see this bolt's on the bed. It's got a V on this side and a flat on this side. And whether they're original scraping marks, they probably are. No reason to suspect that they might be otherwise under there. And that's the profile there that sits on the bed. This has got a compound here that's starting to look a little bit worn, to be honest. It's certainly not perfect. I'd like to see this scraped back in, but it's not going to happen this time. What we do need to do though is replace this screw and these nuts. As you can see, there's a fair bit of backlash in that one, and that's the good one. If we put this one on, a bit of a burr on it stopping it moving, but there's not much thread left in this one at all. It's really. This one has a pin, just a straight pin that fits in this hole. So this pushes in here, lines up there, through this hole, with this pinhole on this side, and then this tapered pin runs through there. Oh, this parallel pin goes through there and holds that in place. This one here screws on afterwards. It's just a fraction, 0.1 of a millimetre smaller than the other one, which is a tight fit. And this pushes in there, and we have two screws, hold it in tight, and an adjuster screw to back it off, so that we can set up, on this flange, we can set up the distance between the two nuts and adjust the backlash. So that's how that works. What I've got is this nice piece of 10 by 2 millimetre triproisoid or thread. It's not too shabby, certainly not ground quality, which is probably going to be a bit hard to find if I needed it. But it's not shabby. It's a little bit looser than I would like, but I don't think it's going to matter very much when we get it all together. So I've got two nuts. I need to machine this one down to 16 millimetres exactly, the same as this nut. We'll measure these up and write everything down and get everything as close as we can. If we were to machine that down to that size, grip it there, machine it down, turn it round, machine the end off, we can push that in place and then drill through the pinhole and ream through the pinhole for the pin later, and everything should be good. The other one's got a flange on it, and I couldn't find a flange nut that was really much good, to be honest. It couldn't seem to find anything that was going to be a direct, like, rebuild across here. So I've got this one, and what I'm probably going to do is the same thing. Basically, I'm going to machine the end of it down to the same diameter as that. Then I'm going to turn it round, and I'm going to put a flange on it, or put a shoulder on it. And we're going to make a flange and silver solder it in place, and drill and tap these holes later on to put all that together. So that should be pretty straightforward. We've got this new piece of thread, and that needs to make a replacement for this screw. What I'm going to do, I think, is get a piece of 12mm 1020 I've got there, and I'm going to make a new end, drill it and ream it, and then I'm going to machine this down to fit it and Loctite it in and put a pin in it. So that's probably the way to do it. It's fairly simple. This has got to fit these two bearings, which are these are the thrust bearings in the bush. They're all pretty good, I think. There's two of them, they're back to back, and that's got to be a good fit on them. So we can do that, I imagine, without too many problems. And if it's a fraction tight, we can hit it with a bit of emery tape to get it right once we've got it all apart, and it's not going to require too many lead screws to do that. It's got a flat on this end, and that's for this. Look, this is the hand wheel. A bit nice. Love this lathe. It's got a thread in the end, which screws in there. I think that's probably M5. Better check that. But it's just got an Unbreako screws in there, and it's got a flat. And this has got a cross-drilled pin in here, don't know if you can see that, you probably can't. There's a pin across there, from there to there, and that only covers half the hole. So that's got to be adjusted to fit in there nicely, and that pin stops it turning, and then we screw that up on the taper. So that's going to be pretty nice. Probably we're going to give these a scrub up and try and get some of the staining out of them. These are really nice hand reels. Really, dials on this are amazing, as are everything else. This is the anti-friction device, which is basically a spring, and that's very, very simple. That runs on the outside of the hand wheel. I like that a lot, like so, and that stops it turning. So very basic thing. Going to give all this a bit of a clean up while it's apart. So first job really is to measure everything, get a drawing set up, some sort of a sketch of what everything needs to be. Then we're going to put it back together the best we can, and adjust some backlash out if we possibly can. And then we're going to make all these parts to match. And hopefully when we pull them apart, we shouldn't have to pull it apart and put it together too many times before everything fits. That's the idea. So that's this weekend's job. Let's get started. So I took the backlash nut out and thought, well, I might machine this, bore it out to 14.5 to fit the new nut, which I've got looking something like it should be. It fits in nice. And just use the main nut without backlash adjustment to bore that, which probably is quite achievable. However, that's exactly how much thread's left in the old nut. So this backlashed up was all that was doing the work. I've got this made, and I machined this up to match the good shaft, or the old shaft, and drilled the end of it, and then machined this, which is quite a hard thread, which is good. I'm pleased about that. Machined that hard, turned it down 20mm to fit in the end, and Loctite it and cross pinned it. Set up in the dividing head and put a drilled a hole and a cross pin in it. Put a flat on there for this pin that goes across. And I've machined this nut down, and the main nut has still got to have a cross pin in it to hold it in place, but that's done. So all we've really got to do is put a flange on here. Now I had every intention probably of setting that up, boring it out to fit on there, putting on silver soldering it and cleaning it up, and probably I can still do that, but I'm going to have to put this thread and nut in first. So let's have a bit of a look at that. So that was a nice tap fit in there. Really pleased with that actually. Tap that in there nicely. About the same fit I think as the old one. With the punch in nice and flush. It's important that it's in far enough that this will bottom out beside it. So we've got that in. I just drilled that, and I run a 3mm reamer through it again, and I run a 3mm reamer through and push the pin in again, so that should be nice and secure. I'm pretty pleased about that nut. This should run in here nicely without too much backlash. It's not too bad. So if we put this back on the lathe, next part I think is to fit that screw in this hand wheel. So I must have been doing something right, because there's no play in this, and there's no real grit and wobble. This is a nice tight fit on there. These bearings are pinched just right so that there's no sideways, backwards and forwards play. And the screw does up tight, all those sort of stuff. I'm pretty impressed about that actually, like really impressed. This is pure dumb luck I think, You can't put it down to anything else. There's no other real explanation for this. It comes off there nice like that. We could put this back on. It could do with a wash up. Everything's going to get a wash up before it goes back together the final time. And we could put the screw back in. It was actually a fraction short, and I've taken a little bit off that shoulder on there just to give it enough length to fit the bearings. It's only 0.02 of a millimetre, something like that. It wasn't very much. It was just a little bit crunchy on the bearings. You could feel the balls. So I put this together. Yeah, it's pretty nice. I'm probably going to pull this apart and wash it up before I put it back in the lathe. So I'm going to do that now. And we'll put it in, and we'll use this. We'll use the nut that's in the cross slide to machine this piece off here and silver solder it on there, and then hopefully we can put that nut in and everything's going to be sorted. So I've had this in and out a lot of times today. We'll just drop these gibs off again because they're a bit tight, just to move this backwards and forwards to fit it up. We can slide that back on there like that. And the screw will come out. Found a new grub screw for that with a proper Allen key head on it, because the old slot head one's sort of seen better days, to be honest. I think that probably goes that way up. Which is another reason why I didn't try to make a new end for that, because I knew it was only went on one way. So they're both in. This little grub screw packs this one out the right amount so that we've got both those nuts working on each end of the trapezoid shape on the thread. So that's how that works. That feels pretty good. There doesn't feel to be much give in that, and there's not much give here in the hand wheel either. The secret now will be to put these screws back in and adjust everything so that it moves in and out on the gibs and everything's nice and smooth. Anyway, I'm going to call that done. It's certainly 1,000 times better, even without the preload or the backlash nut installed even, than it was. If this is starting to feel a bit tight, we might just adjust this a bit. Backlash there is about, if we can see that, I think we can probably, I don't know if you can see that, I'll move this along so you can. If we have a look at our backlash here, one mark is 0.04 of a millimetre on the diameter. So 0.04 on the diameter, 0.02 on the millimetres on the screw. So 0.1 is 1/4 thou. It's less than 1/1000 of an inch. Pretty happy with that, really, and certainly it's a job well done, and I'm really pleased with the way that's gone together. I must actually be picking up some skills, because a couple of years ago there's no way I would have attempted that and got everything fitting as nice as it did. The nut was a nice tap fit, about the same as the one that came out. Probably 2 or 3 hits, and tap it all the way down with a little hammer. And everything on the screw seems to fit. It's just a matter of elimination and getting everything done bit by bit until you've got what's basically perfect. So, really pleased with that. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because that's really appreciated. And be kind to each other. More soon, guys and girls. GoPro, stop recording.